Andrew Wilson is about to step on stage. He's EA's CEO, and the company's stock is near its all-time high. That's good news, but Andrew knows what's on the line. He knows that if their plan does not land, the stock will fall. He knows that if that happens, he'll spend his already scheduled TV interviews having to play defense. The day is September 17th. The event is EA Investor Day 2024, and it's the first time they've held this event in 8 years. You and me, we think video games. We think just make good games, they will sell well, and your investors will be happy. But I think we both know that it's not really like that in reality. Generically, we can judge someone by how they treat service staff. In a situation like this, we can judge an executive team by how they talk to investors. Because it's not about you or I. If Dragon Age is good, that won't fundamentally change the business of EA. It won't trigger a stock rally that will be great for the shareholders, which of course does include the executives, because they, in large part, are compensated with stock. Now that paints a dramatic and simplistic view of things. In reality, it's a bit more like this. Andrew needs to convince Jim. Now, we don't know Jim, but let's just say that Jim is a pension manager. Jim doesn't exactly know what a video game is, but he does know the games industry is pretty important. Jim also knows that AI is big, so when Jim thinks about where he puts his pension fund as the fund manager, well, Jim's going to want to hear what Andrew's got to say about AI. And that is how today's story happens. And if you don't want to end up like one of the Jims of the world, you can sharpen up with today's sponsor. We're going to help you transform doom scrolling time into skills you can be proud of. It's brilliant.org/Bellular News, and they help me benefit from tech rather than be hijacked by it by making learning fun and interactive, where you'll be learning by doing across thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI, all on their site and app that is absolutely gorgeous, where everything's interactive, and that matters because you actually feel what you're learning. Research shows that learning like this is 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos, and that is no surprise to me. I remember things and projects that I've done, not lectures I attended in university. Understanding STEM topics is vocationally useful, but it's also life useful. I mean, in a role-playing game, you would not enter a dungeon under-leveled. And as an example, one of the new things on the block is LLMs, kind of everywhere, so understanding them just puts you ahead in your personal and professional life, even if it just helps you understand the news headlines you see. Brilliant's How LLMs Work is terrific for that. You'll understand what a token is, how an LLM even produces its output. It's something that I learned because it does impact my life and work. As an example, YouTube are doing LLM things, so I want to be prepared so I can tackle tomorrow's challenges from a place of understanding, not panic. And that would be hard to do if it was boring, but of course Brilliant makes it fun and interactive. So take that doom scrolling, turn it into a daily learning habit at brilliant.org/Bellular News, where you will get a 30-day free trial and 20% off an annual plan. EA Investor Day 2024 then. Look, I care about the games first, so here's what we learned on the games front before we jump into the delicious fun. There is going to be a third Jedi game. Skate will hit Steam Early Access in 2025. They say that Apex Legends regained player sentiment when they altered their rather reviled business model to make it a little bit nicer, but because of that, well, they have said that they've missed their revenue targets in the game because, said reduction in cash grabbing. As for Battlefield, well, it's got 4 studios and a tech team working on it. There's a game with single-player, multiplayer, and alleged BR features that has been tested internally for over a year, with public testing next year. And finally, for the games, The Sims. There will be no Sims 5. Sims 4 gets constant updates, a mobile and multiplayer experience, alongside a movie and a brand-wide platform. Thrilling stuff, but, not the point today. Investors are the point. Investors do want more games, more widgets, but they also know generative AI is important, and, that's why everybody else is a bit angry at EA. I hope you're ready to make it more epic. And yes, make it more epic is a quote here, extracted by Jeff Keighley alongside a video showcase of what EA call imagination to creation, which is pretty cringe. We see in this a chatbot interface and a game engine. Pretty simple. You give it text, tell it what to do, and it places stuff. You ask for some characters for your game, a little pop-up appears, you select your characters, and our demo sees a grenade-based multi-level box maze PvP experience that's lots of fun. But fun's not enough, we need spectacle, and that is when the words happen.
Make it more epic. Wow. Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you heard it. Make it more epic. And a pyramid appears on the horizon for some reason. So to make sense of this, here's the plan. Give this system a massive library of assets and code. Wrap it in a user-generated content product akin to, say, Fortnite or Roblox. Players make things using no code, and there you go, infinite content. Of course, I look at this, you look at this, and we think, ugh, that's slop. We know that a good game needs fine-tuned balance. We know it's the design that makes something good, not just what's generically learnt from an EA dataset. This is not Halo Forge. This is not mapping in time splitters or some unhinged Gary's mod map. No, it is none of those things. It is awful looking. It does not appear to be fun. But for investors, they don't understand any of that. The bull case for them is a true step change in efficiency. You see, the company exists to generate shareholder value. Remember the Embracer Group? I just love one of the quotes from Lars, who's the CEO of basically, our overriding principle is shareholder value, and that is, of course, said in the context of all the lovely things that Embracer Group did. But that's just how these companies run. And when one looks at the price of a company, often profitability and an expectation of growth are priced into the current price. So if you want your stock to go more than just sideways, you need a big, exciting bull case. You need something to show people. You need a little bit of FOMO saying, this is our direction. It is big, its results will be big, and it is not priced into the market yet. So if you're a rational investor, you should put your money here with us because we are looking to the future. And with a system like this, they want to solve the problem with the games business. And that's game developers. You see, the thing is, you can only make so many video games. Our species only produces a small number of game developers, but every member of the species is a potential consumer. How do you get around this problem? We all know the game projects don't always work out. Sometimes they backfire. And from that excerpt from Jason Schreier's book that was posted in Bloomberg, well, we know that one of the CFOs who was thrown into Blizzard Entertainment, who came from the soap industry, that individual just thought, you can make more games by opening up more development offices, which is obviously not how it works. But it does show that there's a class of executive investor who genuinely does not understand how this industry works. So that's why a case like this, a sell like this, in EA Investor Day is pretty good looking. The idea is you build user-generated content tools. You have people make their own maps and modes. You then monetize the platform and give yourself a massive split because, of course, if you monetize the platform, you can just recruit your users to make the content. And if you do that successfully, congratulations, you can now grow exponentially as a technology platform with content made by your users, and you don't really need to be constrained by, hiring good development teams. That's obviously the opposite of why we like games, but to investors, it's catnip. Especially for investors who want more AI in their portfolio, but they don't want to be too consolidated in Nvidia and Microsoft. And that's why, looking at this video, it all looks like bullshit. We look at the UI, we laugh at the obvious fakery. We look at how the character selection screen is obviously a mock-up and is pulling in characters that just make no cohesive sense. But the investors are blind to that. Instead, they feel safe knowing that in the face of Roblox and Fortnite, EA is demonstrating a robust user-generated content strategy, but one that is built with artificial intelligence at its core. The best bit, though, for us is that we can look at EA's recent track record, including a track record that they think is so good they can show it to their investors. For you and me, though, we just get to have a free laugh. EA Football Club 2025. Pretty awesome. You don't have to give FIFA licensing money and you get all of the same Ultimate Team revenue. This time, though, promoted by the AI husk of cover star Jude Bellingham. Yes, I want you to assume the brace position. Imagine the plane is about to go down. You need to assume the brace position because it's the only way you're going to survive this cringe.
Let's see what Jude said.
It's like a dream come true. Stepping onto the pitch for the first time, it was a surreal feeling. I mean, I grew up watching Real Madrid. I even played as them in EA games with my brother Joe. So to actually play for real in front of all those fans, it's something you can't really explain.
EA actually did this. They thought this was shippable and a good idea. But it kind of gets worse. It brings me to Project Air. You will love this. Mr. Wilson assures me and you that, quote, AI is not merely a buzzword to us. You know he has a deep passion and conviction. A passion and conviction that has led to this. Here's how EA described Project Air, right? Project Air lets us build characters that we, the consumer, can have experiences with. I mean, I don't know about you, fellow consumer, but I enjoy having experiences with characters. But as a cute flourish to really show off their technology in action, enter Ace Desai, legendary investor, world-renowned venture capitalist who knows how to play his cards right. Stunning stuff, but that's just a character bio. No, as EA themselves said, we need to be able to have experiences with Ace. Because while Ace Desai is not a real person, Ace Desai has been created by EA's new Project Air. They entered the prompt: I'm thinking a high-stakes PC who swims in the waters of innovation. With that prompt, our man is created, Ace Desai. They then decide to give Ace a challenge. This, of course, is the experience. How about pitching him a business idea and seeing if I can lock in an investment? Now, to be clear, this is not some sort of elaborate joke. They actually showcase this, the idea of making your own character, having experience with him. They thought they'd do this legendary investor character as a way to be cute towards the attending audience for EA Investor Day 2024. Obviously, if they were going to be a bit more targeted to the gamers, they would have made it altogether a lot more steamy and related to the Dragon Age franchise. Anyhow, it's obvious bullshit. They want to get to a place where they don't need to rely on game development efforts and patch cycles and content cadences, where they want this stuff to just be existing and users creating the content for themselves, all in a way where EA continually get paid. Obviously, though, that is far off. Let's today talk about what they're doing in the video games right now. So we've just survived a whole bunch of investor buffoonery, the sorts of things that Andrew Wilson will be saying to investors to basically get them thinking that EA is amazing. But let's talk about the concrete, how it actually impacts how we play games and how games are made. There's a few examples. Whenever they talk about using AI for EA Sports College Football, what they mean is using machine learning stuff, right? Using photos to map 150 stadiums and 11,000 players. They did that as pre-production, which then allowed for the full development of the game to start with all the assets that they needed. I think that's a really good usage of that technology. How else are you going to get like college football with 11,000 players and all of the different stadiums? How are you going to get that in the game, especially for, say, your local team? That is pretty cool. Whenever EA president Laura Melee says that the Sims platform is going to use AI to take a player request and surface matching content from a library of 100 million assets, she is reasonable. I mean, maybe that's standard machine learning. Maybe they do use a large language model to sort of process the player request, but that's the kind of thing that makes sense and in many ways has existed for a long time, because be it a modern smartphone camera, a Google search, or so many things that we've been using for the last 2 decades, it's existed under the name of machine learning for years and years and years. The difference is that to promote this to investors, you gotta wrap it up in a sexier package, one that they can understand, one that looks similar to the thing that made Nvidia explode in stock price, and that's why regular run-of-the-mill machine learning is just going to be called AI, even though its intelligence is so singular and limited that it's not really that. And this, of course, extends to techniques that enable better upscaling, that maybe aid you in photogrammetry, like we saw in sports college football, that enables your small local college stadium to actually be in a video game. But the thing is that to investors, those don't really matter. Seeing AI matters, and that makes our job hard, because by the definition that companies use to sell themselves to investors, Blizzard Entertainment uses artificial intelligence on World of Warcraft. What they actually do is they use machine learning to resize helmets to fit different races, because that's grunt work that no artist wants to do. And so we end up in this strange situation where, to the C-suite, AI is just another chance to signal that they're a forward-looking, investable company. We've been here with crypto. Almost every major company talked up having deeply integrated crypto plans. How much of that has actually happened in a way that has moved the needle for a consumer? I mean, it's basically not happened. But what I would say is that AI, and how it's developing now, is more powerful. it sparks more ethical dilemmas. And so in the very best instance, a professional can work out how to use new technologies in their workflow, be that traditional machine learning, or yes, even using a large language model. I do actually use large language models a fair bit. Do you know what it's for? Some copy editing stuff, red teaming my own work because I just know that I have some pitfalls as a writer, and just having a more accurate spell check. That's really useful, but the point is most of what I've done for the last 10 years is writing. I know what good looks like, so I know how to use a new tool to make my human creativity better. But that's the problem here. That's the best case scenario. Best is not default. And right now, incentives steer us in the opposite direction. That's why Electronic Arts spent an investor day humiliating themselves to their customers and to their workers. Because for the workers, they see this. They know it looks bad, and the best that they can expect is to receive half-baked tools made by engineers working to the specs of executives. And that is why I, even as somebody who by default is a techno-optimist, have a little bit of a dim view of where this stuff is going to go. I can see these things being used well. I can see the technology unlocking better opportunities, but I know the people who actually have the power, who actually move the needle, well, they are the ones that have just forced AI into insert whatever normal consumer application you use where it is unwelcome, unhelpful, and at best just promotes the factory farming of slop content. And that's why we must always examine the incentives, just like what we did investigating the implosion of one of indie gaming's greatest publishers. Watch it next. There's even a billionaire island involved. How can you not click? It's gonna replace my face in like half a second.